Have you ever come across a kid, teen, or young person that you thought was a psychopath? What happened when they got older? I have. I'm a forensic psychologist. Many years ago I had a 9-year-old boy with a history of hurting other people, adults and children, cruelty to animals, and who took pleasure in dominating and frightening others. Most kids that are mean are that way on the surface, but are pained on the inside. Not this kid. Very smart and methodical. When I briefly turned away to grab a piece of paper, he tried to stab me in the neck with a pencil. After he tried to stab me, his affect was unchanged. He was cool as a cucumber the entire time, and always had a pleasant grin. I've worked with a lot of disturbed and disturbing people, but no one has ever made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up like that. I wrote down his name on a small piece of paper and kept it in my wallet for years so I'd never forget. I moved away from that area, but I still think about that kid. No idea what happened to him. He's probably either in prison or a CEO at a tech startup. I told this story on Reddit a few years back with a similar prompt. There was this kid we'll call Blaramy, a larger, ginger dude with a mullet in my computer science class when I was like 16. Nice enough kid, sat next to me. I tried to be nice to him while everyone else picked on him. But he made it hard, kinda, because he was constantly boasting this campy power fantasy crap about how he was a vampire hunter and if you made him angry he'd get blood vision and wouldn't be able to control his rage, etc. Angsty high school kid. So that was plenty enough. But his sister, a year our senior, I come to find out is a werewolf hunter, and I'd see her sulk around the hallways in passing dressed all gothy. She had no friends either and was really defensive and mean to people. I just kept my distance. One day, Blaramy shows up at school with a pistol. I was sitting in the office doing a credit class office aide and I watched as everyone evacuated into classrooms and the cops showed up. This was 2004, different time, but they allowed his dad to come pick him up. I didn't actually see it, but the word around the school was that dad showed up in a fucking wizard robe. They both were pulled out or expelled, I don't know, they never came back, but I'll always remember feeling like Adam Sandler and Billy Madison being like, boy, I'm glad I was nice to that guy. Nobody got hurt, thank God, but it was still scary. I wonder if he ever got help. Yes, he just didn't have real empathy for humans. Only thing is he always cared for his animals. When he got angry he tried to strangle his mom and attack staff at the house where he lived with scissors, knives and everything else handy. He didn't live full time with his mom and I worked as a caretaker where he lived. He could be funny and likable, but something was always off. He turned out to be just that, graping and keeping a girlfriend trapped at the age of 18. I had a friend I was in Boy Scouts with and I was in daycare at his house over a couple summers. He was intentionally cruel to people and got real enjoyment out of it. Like he would try to legit hurt people with slide tackles in soccer. Or put you in situations where he was superior and tease and demean you over it. As an adult he became a corrections officer at a city prison, which was almost his destiny. A couple years ago he got caught up in a scandal where officers were accused of torturing prisoners and running a drug ring with the gangs. Nobody I knew was the least bit surprised, except his mom who thought it was a total witch hunt and a sham. Wonder if his enabling mom had something to do with who he became. Oh, 100%. He was always the victim and she never had any trouble finding an excuse for his behavior. He did some fucked up shit while I knew him and I can't remember a single time he faced any consequences or got any help. Was there a dad involved? What was he like if so? His dad was actually one of the nicest people I've ever met. They got married because she got pregnant. I don't think she ever loved him, and it played into their parenting dynamic. He didn't have any authority and with her being a classic enabler, the son never really had a chance. My belief is he had some serious psychotic issues and needed help from a young age, but the family dynamic prevented that from happening. My half-brother. My father moved back to our home country, Ukraine, and I met my half-brother for the first time when he was 5. Kid was just wild. I got to know his mother and the first thing I saw were the bite marks on her arm. That kid bit her so hard that you could see the dent of every single tooth. The bruise was green and blue and that part of her arm doubled in size. Imagine bruises already turning green and you can still see the tooth marks. He showed me a 1-liter jar full of dead, huge grasshoppers. When I asked him where he found so many dead ones, he just shrugged and told me that they weren't dead when he put them in the jar. My father got his fucking kid's bow and arrows and I almost lost an eye. Luckily he only hit the bone right under my eye with the arrow. Then he tried doing the same to my brother. I saw him torturing a little baby street cat. Poor thing was only bones, and he threw stones at it and held onto its tail. Told my half-brother to stop. He didn't listen. Didn't give a fuck that I was his adult big sister. I got fed up and lifted him up, trying to walk away with him. Kinda held him in my arms, his back to my stomach, to keep him from running away. He started kicking me in my stomach as hard as he could. He loved trying to put his hand down my pants. Only tried it with women. We were supposed to go to the beach and I told his mother that I would break his arm if he would try doing that while we were at the beach. Only option I saw to make sure I would not get molested by a little kid. Last time I spoke with my father, about 3 years ago, my father told me that he is teaching that little kid how to shoot. Gave that then 8-year-old a gun to protect Ukraine from the Russians. My half-brother was happily reciting poems about killing enemies with his little kid voice. Guess they are both crazy. This kid is gonna be the next Dnepropetrovsk maniac. An ex had a son who was violent and angry from an early age. He would have these massive meltdowns, breaking things, yelling and screaming nonstop, etc. He was diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder and nothing helped. I felt bad for him. As he got older, his mom thought it was hilarious to get him drunk. Even though he was on psych meds. He ran away after he threatened his sister with a large kitchen knife. Ended up in a mental health facility for kids, then killed himself the day after he was discharged. So sad all around. Holy shit, that's so fucked up. I lucked out. My freshly ex has a son that showed the same tendencies when we were first dating. Including trying to kill his brother before he was even old enough to know what he was really doing. We threw an absolute fuckload of resources and time at him, therapy, school individualized education program, tons of time spent redirecting him, and analyzing his schedule for triggers, working with him through those triggers. He's mostly grown out of it, which I love, but he spent so long abusing his little brother that now his brother is getting violent towards him. Little brother is otherwise the sweetest kid, but when it comes to his older brother, he gets 10-year-old homicidal. It's the find out part of his prior actions, but I hope they both have enough room to grow out of it. As a teenager I ended up in a temporary hospital from some depression or suicidal stuff. There were other kids of varying ages from like 10 to 17, I think. One kid was tiny, maybe 12, blonde, think stereotype nerd, that kid from Boy Meets World, just a skinny little Poindexter-esque kid. In group therapy, he tells the story of why he's there. Turns out his adoptive parents were taking him out to dinner. I don't remember the reason, but they told him he couldn't have steak, he could still have a hamburger. He tantrumed and got out of the car at a stop sign. Ran into the woods. His adoptive mother ran after him. When she caught up, instead of any mildly rational reaction, he smashed her in the face with a log. She had to be life-flighted out of the woods. I cannot describe how he smiled. It was so fucking proud. Chilling. Tiny and harmless looking blonde kid with glasses smiling proudly like it was a story of him hitting a home run. Over not being able to have a steak, this woman who chose him to care for, and he was proud she almost died that he almost killed her, he was thrilled about the helicopter. No idea what happened to him. I was booted from the hospital when insurance ran out, but that was the scariest kid I ever saw. There were other violent or psychotic kids there, but that kid and his smile and story really made an impression. I was booted from the hospital when insurance ran out. Out of everything in your comment, that's honestly the most horrifying part. Yes, I accepted a 3-day substituting gig for a special ed class. There were only about 8 kids in the class, all boys. There were 3 pairs assigned to the room, so I really was only there because the paraeducators don't have credentials. Most of the kids weren't really special needs, in my opinion, they were just difficult boys. However, there was one kid who came in late. I asked the para why he came in late. Her response, in short, was the kid gets dropped off and picked up by a bus, but he is the only student on the bus. He rode the bus alone because otherwise, he would attack other students. He also had to be strapped to the bus seat in an 8-point harness because he would also attack the bus driver. In the classroom, his behavior was non-violent, but I did sit down with him and talk to him. He was incredibly smart, and manipulative. He was calculated, and knew exactly how to get what he wanted from the adults around him. His drawings were dark and violent. I only lasted 2 out of the 3 days. I did my best to build a good relationship with him, because I am genuinely interested in not being skinned alive. When I was 10 years old I hit the curb of the sidewalk hard, tumbled off my bike onto my friend's lawn and wailed in pain. My friend's 5-year-old brother ran up to me and bit my tiny breast. He's in prison for killing his girlfriend when he was 19, she was 16. I knew that kid was pure evil. I'm sorry, what? I'll never forget. I was holding my crotch writhing in excruciating pain on the grass and he just ran up to me and bit my boob through my shirt. There was a bite mark. His sister screamed for their mom and she pulled him off of me. I didn't hang out with them for a long time after that. I cannot remember what I told my parents. A 10-year-old that lived 2 doors down from my mom once walked past me while I was working in my mom's front yard. He clearly stated, "I am going to kill you." Yes, he was speaking to me and it was totally unprovoked. He was kicked out of numerous schools in the school district before they washed their hands of him. There was no controlling the kid. He killed numerous family pets, once choking a pet rabbit just to see its eyes pop out. He also kicked his pet dog to death. As he got older, he shot up his parents' house. When they kicked him out, he slept in his truck in front of their house. He is an adult now and last I knew he was in the state pen for something, but I always fear he'll get out. The guy is bad news. I was walking home with a friend from a bar and we came across a young woman laying in the gutter, still alive, just blackout drunk, asleep and vulnerable. I was scrambling to help the woman. My friend was laughing at both the woman and at me for trying to help. To this day I don't understand that reaction, but it gives me chills. I was asked to look over a case almost a decade ago. It was unofficial and really just a friend asking for my take before they called in the state, since it was a pretty heavy case and unbeknownst to me until I gave my opinion was going to get multiple people in some trouble. The kid was about 7, and would present with violent and sadistic behavior in response to seemingly trivial inconveniences or social pressure. The most interesting thing about it was that their affect would shift from that of a typical 7-year-old to a somewhat incoherent, old man sounding lexicon and vocal tone when they had these outbursts, which were so severe that there were locks on all the drawers in the kitchen and anywhere tools could be found, and this friend had been forced to barricade herself behind a door several times in the course of working with this child. Child was diagnosed with autism. However, my friend was a specialist who worked exclusively with children with autism and stated that she was very confident that this child did not have autism, despite mom being adamant that they were autistic. Lots of little details were bothering her about it, and she eventually came to the same conclusion that I did, as well as the state psychologists. Mom had FDIA, commonly known in the past as Munchausen syndrome by proxy, and had secretly been coaching, drilling, and punishing this kid when they made errors for quite some time so that they would appear to behave the way an autistic child would behave when they worked with a therapist. The stress she had been exerting on this kid was so great that they eventually began dissociating, and what resulted was the only honest-to-God example of dissociative identity disorder with an alternate personality I think I've ever seen in real life. Really creeped me out, and I still think about that kid often. Please, tell me the kid was removed. Not my case, and once my friend was dealing with a parent issue, the state took over. I don't know what became of them. I worked as a DSP, direct support specialist, for a while. During COVID I began working a case that was an absolute clusterfuck. The mother was a hoarder. The kid I worked with was just 1 in 6 kids, all of whom had various intellectual/neurological issues. There were tons of animals, and the entire property inside and out was disgusting. Literally couldn't touch or sit on anything. All the kids were very sweet, caring, and attentive except for the one kid I was tasked to work with. My job was to teach this kid life skills and help him with schoolwork. Well, he could not focus on anything unless it was torturing their animals. I mean, just messed up shit. He never seemed to feel bad about it. I immediately reported to my boss first, who said something along the lines of, "He's just like that." I then quit my job and reported the situation to CPS. That kid found my number last year and called me. It terrified me. Were you not a mandated reporter, and that's why you spoke to your boss first? I'm not being snarky, I'm genuinely baffled by his response. Good on you for doing the right thing, though I imagine quitting wasn't easy. What happened when he called you and how old was he? I was a mandated reporter. However, CPS in our area is one of the worst in the nation, and we're literally in last place for mental health care. So I called my boss first just to see if we had anything we could do along with reporting, and that was her response. She wasn't interested in reporting and was quite upset that I insisted upon it. As far as the phone conversation, I recognized his voice immediately and froze for a second. He was 16 when he called and asked why I left, and then I panicked and said I was busy and had to go. I literally had nightmares about this kid up until last year. There was a kid down the street from me growing up that we weren't allowed to hang out with. He was physically and verbally violent to both people and animals. His only friends were other bad kids who were trying to keep the bar low for themselves. He crashed a few of my sister's high school parents' out-of-town parties and destroyed and burned a lot of sentimental items. It turned out that his parents were trying to deal with his mental illness on their own because there was still a strong stigma against getting help for your kids. Once he was able to keep a job long enough to get healthcare, he got the help he needed for himself. He's almost 40 now, has a good job, long-term relationship, and no kids. He attributes everything good in his life to getting medicated. What did he end up getting diagnosed with? The last time I spoke to him, he had only been diagnosed with ADHD, but he was being assessed by a specialist to see if there was anything else. That was over 15 years ago, and his personality had already made a noticeable shift. He supports mental health on his socials but doesn't publicly talk about his diagnosis. I was a cop for about 10 years. Got a call on day shift one morning around school time for an unruly child. It's a pretty common call, especially when school is just starting back. Usually we show up, talk to kids, talk to parents and try to get the kids to go to school, etc., so we can clear the call. Get the call one morning, we get to the house and the cars in the driveway are spray painted with what was obviously a child's artwork. The house had a broken window covered in spray paint and everything was in disarray. We make contact with the parents, they say the kid did all that before we arrived, threw a rock through the window and spray painted her in the face, spray painted the cars, and caused all the other damage. Child had a history of hanging stray cats and dissecting them, shit like that. We go to talk to the kid, he's perfectly polite, respectful and calm. My partner sat down to talk to him in a chair by the fireplace. The kid kinda started easing over towards him and we thought he was getting comfortable with us and maybe we would make a breakthrough or something. As he gets closer, I notice the fireplace tools behind my partner start to move and out of nowhere this 7-year-old kid grabbed a fire poker and swung it at my partner's head. He was able to grab the poker and get it out of his hands. The kid went wild and jumped on him and started biting, hitting and kicking him and started grabbing his gun trying to pull it out of his holster. We had to hold him still until EMS arrived and the whole time he screamed about how he was going to get our guns, kill us with them and his whole family. We were both covered in scratches and bites. When EMS arrived a switch flipped and he started hysterically crying and telling EMS that we beat him. It was truly scary to see a child act like that. I will never forget the look in his eye and I get goosebumps anytime I tell the story, still to this day. I know he hospitalized that day for a psych evaluation, but beyond that I have no clue what happened to him.